So we're going to go ahead and get started. I just mentioned to the group, this is a 2-day workshop packed into an hour. So we're going to do that as best we can. You came into the call or to the Zoom muted. So I'd love if everyone's good with it, just go ahead and mute. And that way we don't have any dogs barking or cats meowing or kids, since it is the middle of summer, kids in the background. And if you have a question, throw it in the chat, and we're going to watch this as they come in, and throughout this webinar, we'll address the questions, and we also will have time for questions at the end. So this is about ad strategies, winning ad strategies for managed services providers and IT companies. Thank you for those that are joining. This will be recorded. I know a lot of folks have registered that plan to get the recording. I'm Laura Johns, founder and CEO of the Business Growers. The company that I own works strictly for managed services providers and IT companies, doing a lot of different things with marketing that generate leads and get real ROI for these companies. My guest today is Josh Wheeler. He's a great friend of mine, an ads and AI strategist. If you can be both, believe it, he is both. But we're going to be talking specifically about 3 phases of how the ad, you hear the ad funnel a lot, and a lot of people are like, what's the funnel mean? What does the funnel do? You've got your sales funnel, your marketing funnel, your ad funnel. So we're going to talk specifically about delivering ads that give you optimal return on investment. If you're spending this ad money on Google or Facebook or wherever you're spending ad money, we want to make sure that you are getting your return on investment. And so we're going to talk about that specifically today, how to do that and the types of ads that do that best. Josh, thank you for being here. One of my favorite people. Again, we could talk about ads all day. If you don't mind, introduce yourself, and then I'll get into my formal introduction, and then we will get started so that we can dig in.
Sure. Well, hey, thanks so much for having me on today. Hopefully you guys get a lot of value. Make sure to ask questions. If you need clarity on things, just drop those things in the chat. We'll be making sure to circle back to those things as things go. Now, my name is Josh Wheeler. I am based here in Southern Ohio. And whenever I say Southern Ohio, it's as south as you can go. We're right down on the border with Kentucky and West Virginia. So if a little bit of my hick or hillbilly comes out, I just ask for a little bit of your tolerance. And if you need me to repeat something, just let me know. Okay, I'm a lifelong entrepreneur. I actually have grown up in a family business. And for the past 23 years now, we've been playing in this marketing world, going from offline analog with GKIC and Dan Kennedy all the way through now where it's mainly digital stuff. But I do want to let you know there's a lot of opportunities for offline marketing. We'll leave that part for another day. I've got multiple businesses that we manage across multiple different industries, one being an AI strategist, one being more of an ads type company. And then we've actually got a few other offline businesses. So it keeps us on our toes and allows us the opportunity to see things, not just in brick and mortar in business to business, but also in a few other avenues as well. I've managed over $80 million in the last 10 years in ad spend. But prior to that, I really didn't put too much stock into that. But what that should mean to you is not so much that, oh, there's $80 million worth of here. It's the data that comes with it and the insights that come with that we can share. And yeah, again, I live right in Southern Ohio, right where West Virginia and Kentucky comes together. So that's me in a nutshell.
Well, we're not going to make fun of you for being to have any hillbilly about it, because I'm from Jackson, Mississippi, where they think we don't have running water. So we won't go there. But I'm Laura Johns, founder and CEO of the Business Growers. Like I said, we've been working for quite a long time, me specifically in telecommunications and tech marketing. Was the chief marketing officer for a managed services provider prior to starting the Business Growers, and really just realized what a need there was in this industry, particularly with MSPs and IT companies that are under 50 employees that either don't need a full marketing team or maybe even can't afford one. So we come in and serve as a full service marketing team. I have 2 sons. Again, I'm based in Jackson, Mississippi. I have a husband too, and love them all. I live in a house full of boys. And the Business Growers is staffed with 15 of the hardest working women I know. So really excited to be here today and to be talking about what we're going to be talking about, because it is truly one of my favorite subjects. So thank you for joining along. The recording is available, like I said, and we're going to go ahead and dig right in. Three things we're going to talk about today. This could be a 10-part discussion. The three things we're going to talk about today are the funnel, the offer, and the follow-up. Three huge parts of this process. We're going to start with the funnel. Put a 1 in the chat if you've heard of the funnel before. You might know what the funnel is. Somebody might be thinking a different type of funnel. We're going to talk about particularly about an ads funnel. All right, so we got some knowledge of the funnel. Okay, now I'm really going to make you participate here. I want a 1 in the comments if you feel like the people on your street know who you are, know you by name. Do the people on your street know you by name? Okay. Put a 2 in the comments if you feel like the people in your entire neighborhood know you by name. If you don't live in a neighborhood, then you can skip this one. If you live on a highway. Okay, put a 3 in the comments if the people in your community, if you feel like for the most part, the people in my community know who I am. All right. What about 4 in the comments for your tri-state area? Not just your state, but tri-state, the states around you. All right, and 5, nationally, if everybody in the country you feel like has a pretty good idea of who you are, put a 5 in the comments. I love it. So let's talk about 5 Mile Famous, Josh. This is one of my favorite conversations to have with Josh. So
Yeah.
there's a method to my questions, trust me.
So we talk about the concept of how well your ads do or how well any marketing does based on how well people know you, right? There's going to be different things that you say when people don't know you than what you say if people do know you, right? Because you can skip by a lot of things. We're going to be talking a little bit later on about your stages of awareness. 5 Mile Famous is a concept that you need to be the best known person within the 5 miles if you want the types of projects coming through and the types of contracts that people automatically magnetically flock to you, regardless of price, regardless of a lot of other issues that they could have. But most of the time, they're not going to see that unless you have some version of this that comes through here. Now, we've all heard of a funnel in this approach where you're dumping people in the top and getting people all the way through the bottom. But you guys have heard of know, like, trust. When we talk about becoming 5 Mile Famous, we're talking about things that involve your authority, your credibility, and your expertise. That is actually the professional side of know, like, and trust. We're all familiar with that kind of concept as far as where that's at. And quite frankly, it still needs to be parts of that. But when you're working in a business sense, what it really comes down to is they have to like you to begin with. Otherwise, they're not going to listen to you. But outside of that, they're going to like you based on what authority that you have, the credibility that you have, and the expertise that you have to be able to solve the problems that they have. Now, we use ads to become 5 Mile Famous as a starting point. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's where it has to stay. Number one, it's kind of a fun topic and an alliteration to be able to use. But the fact is, that's kind of where your baselines are when you're starting to run these ads. You want to make sure that you are the person that people know. So if you go to the grocery store, I want people to say, "Hey, I saw your Facebook ads," or I just provided that they're inside of a relevant industry, because when people are saying that and they see you out and they notate that, you know that things are working the way they need to. And just by frequency, just by the number of times that they see you, there's already going to be a trust and confidence in what it is that you do. Now, although the rest of those things that we're going to talk about today, as far as how to get that message out, it all starts with authority, credibility, and expertise.
Yeah.
Right.
I love it. I love it. And I think just to make sure, to help this hit home a little bit too, is when it comes to ads, the beauty of ads is that you don't have to be nationally known. To be 5 Mile Famous, you can use ads to feel famous and to give someone the confidence they need through ad campaigns. This is something that we're able to do. So
Yep.
if you see this authority, credibility, expertise throughout the funnel, you'll see we're gonna show this graphic with more detail in just a minute. But this shows you at different stages when someone doesn't know you at all. You're not necessarily trying to, again, we'll get in this further detail, but you're not necessarily trying to close the deal when you're introducing yourself. In the same regard, you don't ask someone to marry you the very first time they meet you. maybe you do. I don't know. You can put a 1 in the comments if you ask someone to marry you on the first date. Art's laughing. I think he's maybe done that before. I don't know. But
I knew I was going to marry her the moment I saw her, but
you
yes,
knew it, but you
but
didn't
I did
ask
not.
her.
But and to your point, it took me 4 years to close the deal. So
There
there
you
you go.
go. Well, hey, keep that number 4 years in mind, because I'm about to show you something in just a second. So my point is that now, I don't know who you married, but I imagine if she had little messages outside of her contact just with you throughout her day, every day, you probably could have closed that gap from 4 years maybe to 1. So we're going to talk about, from an ads perspective, how to do that. So we'll get back more on the funnel in just a second, but here we're going to talk about kind of first of all, it's a process. So similar to dating and marriage, similar to the business that you've already built. You've built, put in the chat how long your business has been running thus far. I'd love to just kind of get an idea of how long, 5 years, 3 years, 1 year. So regardless of how long your business has been running, the likelihood of you building your expertise, the knowledge of your brand, I imagine had a lot to do with referrals. People got to know you, they trusted you, and then they told someone else about you. So just like that took time, and just like I love, Josh and I both settled on this type of graphic to visualize, just like you have built relationships on trust to build your business, from a digital standpoint, you also have to build your digital house on trust. That means that when we turn ads on, because I have this conversation with clients all the time, there probably will not be 6,000 people knocking on your door overnight. You are from scratch, helping them get to know you, helping them understand you know what you're doing, and then giving them something to push them over the edge. So it's not, from an ad standpoint, it's not always rainbows and butterflies. You've got to, you've got to set the proper expectations. But just like building a house right here, you have to provide the tools and resources. And I put some examples here. Lead magnets is what we like to call them: white papers, podcasts, webinars, lots of things. We'll look at this in a different slide in a minute. That's your foundation, giving them information, not asking them to marry you. They don't know you, right? Then we move into building the walls and the roof and other foundational, parts of building your digital house. That's your details on your products and services, details about your support, the way that you support your clients, customer testimonials, more of that to build that confidence. And then those finishing touches, that interior design, is images of your team, personalized service, flexibility in our packages, just more details that are value added, that are just icing on the cake of that digital house. Anything else here, Josh, that you want to talk about before we move on to the next?
That's pretty much it's a reverse funnel is actually what that is,
Yeah,
when you
it
start
is a
looking
reverse
at
funnel.
it.
That's right.
And because you're building that confidence at the very lowest part, and you're
Yeah.
building on top of that. And as you
Yeah.
do that, you're going to have a lot better success
Right.
as you go.
Right. So the slide we just saw, again, I just added a little bit more detail. Let me get to the next slide here. But this is, flip the house over. This is what you're essentially going to be building. Again, we're going to have samples in a minute, but when you hear or you see TOFU, MOFU, BOFU, top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, we're talking about different types of ads, different ad copy, different graphics, different visuals, some video. It is quite literally a different goal at each part of the funnel. Does that make sense? Any questions? Any other thoughts here? So next, I think this kind of goes to the you said it took 4 years, Art. So your sales cycle might not, if you're a managed services provider or IT company on this call or in the telecom world, your sales cycle might not look exactly like this. The labels might not look exactly like this, but it looks something like this, right? So we know that you're going to have to prospect, generate that lead. You're going to have to make sure that they're a good fit for you. You're going to have to qualify them. You're going to have to figure out, the pitch, multiple pitches sometimes to the right people, get the decision maker, get the right person in front of you. They're going to have a list of objections. You want to handle that. Then you close the deal. And then there's a whole lot that goes on post-sale that is a whole big category. But this is essentially a sales cycle. There is no reason, and I'm the most firm believer of any firm believer, if you've got a salesperson, if you're the salesperson and you don't have marketing support that is, lock in step with your sales team, then you have a problem. You need to align this whole funnel that we're talking about, and I'm going to show you in just a second. It directly aligns with the marketing activity that you're doing and the ads activity that you're doing. Especially if they're coming to your website, we have a way to make sure we capture that person and we put ads back in front of them. So there is no reason why they shouldn't know you better along the way. Quick stat here, 74.6% of managed services providers sales cycles take not 4 years, sometimes 4 years, but 4 months to close. So if you can just put in the chat what an average customer life cycle is for you. How long does it take from brand new prospect all the way to close? What's a typical life cycle?
And Laura, while we're waiting to see if anybody would like to run through the process, what I want you to think about whenever you're looking at this, because this is the biggest mistake most people make when they have their ads, is they don't take into account this 4 months, 6 months. Most people say, we're going to start running ads. And,
Right.
oh, we ran ads for 4 weeks, for 30 days. It didn't work.
Yeah.
Your sales cycle is 6 months out. You may be
Right.
spending money right now that doesn't pay a return for another 6 months because of that. But the fact is that it's the process that you have to go through to help facilitate the decision, right? That's probably the most important thing. You can't, like, I put ads in a way of running as creating a fire, right? If anybody who's ever started a fire, you start with this small stuff, the kindling, some paper or something like that, and you get it going, and then you'll put a little grassy stuff on, and then you'll put the twigs on, and then you'll start layering those things up. That's what you're doing when you're building the foundational side of building ads, is you're doing that piece of it so that you're facilitating the decision. And so the biggest thing that you could take away here is, in that 4 to 6 months, you probably shouldn't be judging your ad success based on 30 days. You should be basing it based on 4 months or whatever that life cycle is that you have. And that's probably one of the biggest mistakes I see people make, because everybody has seen the cartoon. It's like, oh, we stopped 2 feet away from where the gold vein was, right? It's like we stopped just short. It's like, if you haven't ran ads for at least 2 months longer, what your average sales cycle is, so that you can get proper attribution, like, you shouldn't run them at all. Like, you need to kind of put that in place. So anyway, as people were looking,
That's
I just
good.
thought that was worthwhile.
That is worthwhile. Thank you. Josh, this is talk about this awareness. This is huge too. This just complements everything we're already saying, but I think it's important.
Yep. So this is an acronym we call it UPSIDE. So this is just your 5 stages awareness. Now, before you get going and you're like, oh my goodness, I've got to have 5 different ad programs running for all of these people. No. The fact is that most of the time you're going to be running ads solution aware and down, because unless you are a multi-million-dollar conglomerate and you have a lot of stuff going on, you're probably not going to use unaware and problem aware that often, because it costs a lot more money to be able to educate people. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and work through those things just so that you know what they are. But just keep in mind, you probably are not going to be in a place where you're using those stages. So unaware, that's basically means they don't know anything. They don't even know they have a problem. They're oblivious to the facts. So I would equate this to something like, some kind of, security update or security protocol that needs to be put in place, but they're just like, how many times do you guys talk to people every single day? Like, what do you mean you don't have this in place?
Or they've got somebody doing break fix and the break fix is costing them 10 times as much as it would cost them to use
Right.
you, but they don't know because they got an IT guy, right?
Correct. Right. So you're just like, we don't even know at this point that we need an IT guy or any IT solutions. We're just like, we're just doing what we do. Problem or desire where this means that somebody either they realize that they have a problem, they know what the problem is, or they're looking at, or they want a specific outcome. It's like, you know, for you guys, maybe that's business growth. Hey, I really want to know my business, grow my business. Have no idea how to do it. As a matter of fact, you're interested in that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on this
Right.
particular presentation. So it's like, so some of you are in this stage. Solution aware is when you know what it is and you have a general idea of what the solution might be, or you're at least exploring what the solutions are, right? Your solution basically means they know what they need, they know the solution, and now they're looking for a provider. They don't know who to go to yet, but they know what they need, or at least they think they know what they need. And the last one is the most aware, but this is the one where sometimes it just comes down to a deal, some kind of promotion, or knocking them off the fence. They know who, what, when, where, why. They know everything. It's
Right.
just like, you know, and I think that if we look at our buying patterns and what we do as people, not even with our businesses, I think you could probably see at some point you're just like, I've actually bought only because somebody offered a deal at some point, right? And these are the things that you need to help facilitate or push people down that funnel. So this is actually just another version of the funnel, right? But individual steps.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll show you a couple ad samples here in just a second of what you might see in between those two things. But does anybody have any questions, or is it pretty,
Is
does it
this
make,
making sense? Is this making sense? Thumbs up in the chat if this is making
yeah,
sense. Any
all
questions?
your language patterns in what you put in the ads will be different each of these things, because people need to know different things at different times. It's been no different than when you go in and buy a car. First, you had to decide why you need the car. Then you had to decide, okay, well, what's the best model? Is it going to be a truck? Is it going to be a crossover? Is it going to be a sedan? Is it going to be a hybrid? And then you're saying, okay, well, the solution is I need a Honda Pilot that's gray. Now, what's the dealer I'm going to go get it from? I like this dealer, and then I wait for a deal. Does that make sense? So each of those steps, you're going to hear different things. At the bottom, it's all about numbers, and then you work your way back up. Okay.
And I wish that all of us were selling to my mom, because unfortunately my mom, all she needs is the deal. She doesn't need to know anything about it. You know, she don't need to know, even if she needs it, doesn't need to know that. All she needs is the deal.
Well,
But
some people are just buyers. Some
good thing
people are just buyers.
good thing she's not on this webinar today. She didn't know about it. So all right. So here is the same sales funnel we talked about, but this is how we take what we've just learned or what we've just walked through and add that marketing component. And this is what your sales and marketing department essentially is working through as you are prospecting. We're making them aware. We are picking our audiences. We've got our list that we want to target. We are making sure that we are getting the dream list of people that we want aware in our community, region, nationally, whatever. And we are taking them through the same journey. And it doesn't all happen at the exact same time, but this is just a good visual of how that alignment is necessary. Or else, if it's not, or if you haven't started bringing, you know, any sort of ads, lead generation type mechanism into your business, then it means that you got a salesperson or you yourself are doing a whole lot of work on your own. So this is where ads really can complement the buyer's journey and help without that little salesperson that's trying their best to make all the noise. And, you know, the support of a really well functioning ad campaign can quadruple your success in this area. Okay, we are finished talking about the funnel for now. We're almost halfway through time-wise, so I want to make sure we have time to finish this up. Any questions at this point? Josh, do you see any questions? I'm not looking at the questions right now. So
No questions yet. No questions in chat.
All right, so we talked about the funnel, different phases of the funnel. Now we're going to talk about the offer. So I'll let Josh talk through these. These are some samples of client ads, but this just shows you how he just mentioned the language matters, the offer matters, and you don't just offer at the bottom. You can offer everywhere, but what you're offering is different. So talk about that a little bit.
Correct. So we want to give you some examples of what this looks like. The top of the funnel is going to typically be, again, those free guides, checklists, cheat sheets, ebooks. This could also be if you're using Facebook ads or something similar to it. I think YouTube ads has got the same similar things,
Yeah.
is that you start making videos about you, your company, your core values. This is introducing yourself and your company to those people. Right now, we like to use those things on Facebook ads, on the video ads, because we can create audiences. This is okay. People who've watched at least 25, 50, 75% of these video links, we can pull them into another audience and we can show them ads. Now, what that means is that they are now engaged in the process, because I'll promise you, like, think about when you're scrolling through Facebook, like if it wasn't something you're interested in, you don't watch it for more than about 3 to 5 seconds. Right.
Yep.
So we know that whenever we put a 1-minute video, 2-minute video, 5-minute video, now I'm going to tell you something that a lot of people won't tell you, and maybe it goes against some best practice type things if you listen to Facebook. I like longer videos on any platform, only because if you have people that, if you got a 5-minute video and they watch 75% of it, I'll promise you those are people that, those
That's
are
who you
people who are
want.
interested, right?
Yeah.
Whenever we,
That's a hillbilly hack right there.
right,
Hillbilly
hillbilly
hack.
hack.
Yeah.
So because the short form things that have been coming through now, 30, 45, 60 seconds, that's easy to get through. If you go through 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Now on some other platforms like YouTube, you're used to watching longer like videos on YouTube. Even like for me, I bump it up to a 2 times or a 2x, but you're still used to watching longer form stuff. But that's about you. You're introducing yourself to start building some of that authority. Now, when we move down to middle of the funnel, these are going to be things that you offer to further educate and spend more time with people. So, for example, if you've got some kind of a video demo that you can show them your solution, you run an ad. They're like, hey, if you'd like to learn more about our master class, or you'd like to learn something about this, click over, check us out. And then we've got technology that can be retargeted back to them if they are wanting something like that in the future. But we want to spend another 8 to 15 minutes with them, right? We always call these video sales letters. They don't have to be just text. I mean, they could, for that matter, just be you on camera talking
Yeah.
about the things that you do, right?
Yeah.
But the whole purpose of that is to allow you to spend more time demonstrating your expertise. Same thing with a product demo, can be the same thing. We also like to start using client testimonials, and most local businesses or most people that serve more of a local regional basis, testimonials carry a lot of weight, especially, and this is the mistake a lot of people make, they don't put in that where the people are from, right?
Mhm.
So if you had Joe Smith, they are a resident of your town. When they see that, you're no longer somebody out in the interwebs, you're somebody from there in your area, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So if you serve a region, you can say, so for example, one of the bigger areas, if you look at the Bay Area, can cover Oakland and Danville and a few other things that are around there. But if you say the greater San Francisco or greater Bay Area, most people already know that, okay, that's for us. Like, we're here in this market. If you have something that your market isn't that big, you can go to a city and start using that. But client testimonials, what that's done is another layer of trust, another layer of credibility that what's going in that's third party. Lastly, as you get down and you push them down into the bottom of the funnel, they're looking for a promotion. You can see the ad here where it's like, hey, you get a free installation with X number of users, right? Well, if I've got X number of users, that's awesome. Let's go ahead and make that happen. I see a lot of these things happening in like the fourth quarter, because like, hey, your contract's coming up, you're looking for something new. If you go ahead and take advantage of this quarter, then we're going to do this for you. Right.
Mhm.
So a lot of times you can use holidays as an example of that offer, is why. Now, here's the thing. When you're making an offer like this, I think that you always need to have a why. Otherwise, people are like, oh, they're just going to discount. No, we're doing something very specific for a specific user or a specific thing. That could be holidays. That could be just something that you've got, like a big trade show that you guys have that's come up. Like, hey, we're doing a trade show special. Could be tied to a local event that you have that has nothing to do. Like we just had an example of things that we were working on where they have a big horse race that's coming up locally, and we have people that are running ads that is like that special because there's going to be a lot of people here,
Yeah.
right?
And
So
let me add to that real quick, Josh. I think sometimes in business we like to, I mean, I sell to businesses too. So if, anybody on this call that sells to businesses, sometimes it's really easy to excuse, like, oh, a Christmas promotion doesn't really apply to me. I'm not selling to a consumer end user. You're still selling to a human. You're still a human selling to a human. And so, you know, for the most part, that human probably celebrates holidays too. They probably in their personal life are in a buy mode for their families or whatever. We don't need to totally disconnect buying behavior just because you're selling to a business. Many of the same rules still apply. So, and it's really, honestly, I think that that's how a lot of businesses selling to other businesses that aren't successful in ads, is because they are stale and not exciting. And if I see another picture of a laptop screen only in an ad, like that's not really, you know, getting me to want to click. You've got to have human, you know, you're a human selling to human. So don't remember, you know, don't forget that it's important to remember that.
One thing that I will leave you with whenever it comes down to messaging, because I hope you guys can see how you would change messaging. Like, hey, take our free download, learn more about this.
All we're asking you to do, just download something.
Right.
Yeah.
Just download stuff versus, hey, why don't you just come check us out and learn a little bit more versus, hey, why don't you take advantage like that messaging in each of those things in each of those ads are going to be different. And these 3 samples are exactly what you would look at if somebody was going to be problem aware, like they've already gone through the first 2. Whenever they're already looking and saying, okay, we need to find a solution. This is what you're starting to build for them is a solution, then your solution, then the deal. Okay. So yeah.
I'll
Any
just
questions?
talk through, this is just the other samples of those. And then I just put some, if y'all want to screenshot this, or of course the recording's coming, but just some suggested offers. Obviously it depends on your product, and what you're also, you know, don't give them away something that's going to put you in the hole. So make sure that your offer is something that you can, you know, do without a huge cost to your business. And you would be surprised. I mean, one of the things that I love to recommend, if you're willing to do it, is employee training. You know, could we throw in an employee training, which is on site for a day, telling people what not to click on in their emails, you know, or whatever, but do some security training. That's valuable. And it's as valuable as you make it, and putting it in an offer to close the deal. And this is when I say offer ideas, these are kind of geared more toward closing the deal versus offers at other parts. So that this is bottom of funnel offer.
Yep. Now, I will stop there for just a second. So as a bottom of the funnel offer, if you want to look at other offers that you could potentially make, if you guys, every one of us have a competitor that we're just like, those guys just stink. They're not any good. We hear this all the time. We hear common complaints.
I bet everybody's got one of those. Yeah.
Use that as your offer to be like, something as simple as this, because this is all internal business operations. So if you're a good operator, if you're operating a good business, you should have all kinds of these types of things. So it could be something as simple as our techs show up on time when we said they would, or we'll give you $100. There's 2 things that happen to that. Most of the time, if they don't show up on time, now you got a pissed off client. Excuse me. If you say, so what you're doing is you're saying, okay, now you've got a happy client that you had to pay them $100. So I'm like, the whole world changes and you're only paying it what? If you're late.
Right.
Right. So just don't be late, and you don't ever have to pay $100. So it's a cool guarantee that you never have to pay as long as you do what you said you would do.
Right.
Right.
Just tell
What
your
other,
team coming out of their pocket if they're late. So I'm kidding.
yeah. One other example of that, and then I'll pass the baton back over, is just saying, we don't charge you more than our initial estimate. Right. Now you would think that that's a pretty commonplace thing, that like that shouldn't matter. Right. Because it's like, okay, you'd be shocked. And I'm sure that you guys have war stories on this as well. It's like, oh yeah, the customer had this and they ordered this and then they got charged 20% more because of XYZ. Right. And I'm sure there's other things inside the business that you can kind of work through, but it doesn't necessarily, for those of you who get squirmy about offering a lot of free stuff or whatever, it could literally be just about how you do your business, because a lot of people are running good businesses and they don't actually promote what they do well. So everybody thinks you're just the same as everybody else.
Yeah, that's good.
Sorry, I got talking a little bit fast there. My bad.
No, that's good. Speaking of getting squirmy, we're moving into the part that makes everybody uncomfortable, which is the follow-up. I've had clients who have told me it's impossible for me to keep up, or I don't want to email these people and bug them to death, or fill in the blank. The follow-up, if you are paying to get leads in your inbox and in your funnel, and you are not diligent to follow up with these people in a way that, may sometimes feel like hounding. But truthfully, this graphic will show you, I got two good graphics. This is one of my favorites, but it just shows you how important that not only follow-up, but immediate follow-up is. You can just take a few minutes to look at this. Following up with leads. Looks like I got a spelling error on there. Sorry about that. But following up with your leads within 5 minutes, you're nine times more likely to convert them. Nurtured leads, which we're going to talk about lead nurturing, nurtured leads make 47% larger purchase than non-nurtured leads. So, and there's just some, couple saying, again, screenshot this if you want it. I also love this graphic, and this is my most up to date. There's probably different sources that tell you different things, but this is a bad timing, but a Microsoft example. I know this is not Microsoft's best week, or CrowdStrike's best week, but this is a sample of just how much great slide to show your sales team, great slide to show your sales and marketing team. It is not over when the lead comes in. It has just started. And so it is your responsibility as a leader of your organization to make sure that 13 to 17 touches, and I think you have some context to where that number comes from too, Josh, but it takes nurturing to make sure that you get the deal. And so if you have done all of this work to nurture them through the funnel and then they convert, whether it's a free download they've asked for, if they ask for a free download and you don't keep hounding them, like they have said, here's my email address in exchange for the free download. So Josh, any more thoughts around this?
Yeah. So there's two things that I'll give. Now I'm going to ask you a quick question. You guys can put it in the comments. How many times, even based on this, everybody has heard one particular number that it took to get a customer? How many times do they need to see you before they'll buy? What's the typical number that you've heard? I know that everybody has heard this at least one time, because as we go through this whole process, right, of nurturing people and where things are at and getting people in a buying modality, it's like typically the number is 7, right? Oh, got to hear it 7 times. That's based on a 1929 anecdotal study of somebody of how many times they had to walk past a movie poster before they would go in and watch the movie. 1929. Now, I'm no genius here, but I think that we probably have a lot more
We have changed.
interruptions.
Yeah.
We have a lot more interruptions in our life than what somebody did in 1929 for a variety of reasons. That number is actually somewhere closer to the for something as simple as an airline ticket is 500 touches. Now, that does not mean that you're hammering people with ads or like this could be a variety of ways that, but in order to basically start that buying process, that's how many times that they've seen it. I want you to think about how many times that you saw the candy bar that you were going through in the grocery aisle before you actually bought one and how often you buy it. Typically, it's in the neighborhood of 25 to 50. Now, that's happened to a candy bar where it takes 500 for an airline ticket. I think it's safe to say that we all sell things that are slightly more complicated than an airline ticket. So you can never be in front of or talk to people, touch people, or hit people too much.
Right.
That's the biggest takeaway of this, to where if you're like, oh, I can't email them weekly, I can't do this. Yes, you can.
And the beauty of it, yes, you can. And if they don't want it, they can unsubscribe. That's,
Yes.
I mean, they have given you their email address. They've asked for it. So this is just to reiterate, one, that last graphic I showed, quick response times are very important. But also, I suggest minimum, and if you can nurture forever, if you have a structure in place, a marketing team where you nurture them always, which you really should be doing, but I would say mandatory nurture for 6 to 8 weeks. What does that even mean, Laura? Well, you get, and our CRM is called Scale CRM that we offer our clients, but you get the lead comes in, they wanted an appointment, they wanted a, if they want an appointment, that's one path. If they want a free download, that's another path. But your sales team should be calling and texting them. We can do automations for that immediately. Continue to do that throughout the day, obviously. And then I recommend, and you may have a different recommendation, I think in business, at minimum call daily, or every 2 days at the minimum for at least 30 days, continuing that follow-up while the email's still going. And of course, if you're running ads, they're going to continue to see those ads because they came to a landing page of yours through the ad to get there. So that omnipresence, I've talked about this with my team this week, that omnipresence is kind of the word, but being everywhere for them is what gets you that 5 mile famous, quickly. So.
Well, and as you go through here, one of the other things that you look at from your follow-up processes is that vary your times. Like, so when you're calling back and you're calling back every day or every other day to try to make that connection, that person may have reached out and requested that download when they were on break in the bathroom. Let's be real. Okay. Like, it could be a variety of places where that happens. So just because they requested then, like, you should call within 5 minutes, no question about it, because it makes that big of a deal. Speed to lead is a key metric that everybody should be keeping track of inside of their lead generation and sales departments.
Yeah.
But when you go through and you say, okay, I didn't get to them here, vary the timelines that you. So, okay, we called them back at noon. We didn't get a hold of them then. So we're going to call them back at 3:15. And so you want to vary that time until you get a hold of them. And that may be the only difference. Quite frankly, sometimes it's going to be required for the salespeople to do some things they don't want to do. So it's like, hey, try them at 7:45 instead of after 8 to see if they'll pick up. Try a little after hours, right? So it depends on how bad we actually want to sell. That will determine what our schedules are. But like, that's one thing that we want to see a lot of, is some variation inside of that follow-up as well.
Love it. If you got some really fancy automations, you can also drop a voicemail with very little to no effort. So
yes.
All right. And also, this is just an example of actually something that I got, but if you notice this, this follow-up, and give them value every single time you touch them, every single time you email them. Also, of course, offer the opportunity to meet with you, but this is just a sample of an email. We've got several on our team, of course, that we offer for our clients, but you want to make sure that you've given them value with every email, and that keeps you in their inbox and keeps that unsubscribe less likely to happen. Excuse me. And this is just a sample. Again, this is all a few. I just put some things together, but these are some things that you can be doing. Now we talk about follow up and moving into retaining the customer. Once you've closed the deal, continue to serve this client in a way. Here's just some samples, some things that you can give them access to a portal of some sort with education. You can give them, of course, do the quarterly, business review that a lot of people in the space do. Handwritten notes are great. I mean, this is just a sampling of things that you could work into your processes that really make a difference and keep your customers connected to you for the long haul, and make them, of course, more dependent on you as their IT provider or managed services provider. And Josh and I have a couple books here. My team just finished reading Never Lose a Customer Again. Great book. Josh, you've got another one that you recommended. You said you just recently read as well. If those of you are readers or listeners to books, remember, you're the #1 resource for anything IT related. If you can become that in your market and then continue to validate that with your current customers, then you will never lose a customer again, in my opinion. Anything about that book you want to talk about, or in closing?
I'll make one modification to with exceptional experience. Just, it's a short read, like something I recommend everybody take a look at. But because we're all selling recurring revenue models for the most part, I mean, I'm sure that there are project-based and other things. But for the recurring revenue models, every activity is a pre-sale activity. Everything you do is pre-sale.
Yeah.
You sold them the first time, but guess what's going to happen next month? You're going to sell them again and again and again and again. So that's the reason why parts of this, and I know we talked about ads and I know we talked about those things, but this is the part that says, okay, now one thing that we like to do with this is that this is also the part in the ads where you can start offering customer only projects. Now you can do or customer only promotions. Like, you can push these things back over through email and obviously have your sales team call or whatever. It's also, yep. Also take that audiences and plugging that into where it's only showing just to your customers, like, hey, this is special just for you. We just wanted to make sure that you saw it.
Mm-hmm. And I firmly believe that the easiest revenue to get is an upsell versus having to spend, it's cost you a lot more, of course, to start somebody at the very beginning of awareness and take them all the way through the funnel. So that upsell program, which I think we probably could do a whole webinar just on upsells and offers to your existing clients. So that's a good thought for next time. But but I think that's good to keep in mind. And this is the last slide today. I have a link that you could certainly, if you have any questions or want to talk through strategy about your business, would love to do that. Josh, I'm so grateful for your expertise always. You've been a great just business buddy for me, and I'm really grateful for you and your value that you always add to me and my team. We have 15 minutes left. I was thinking we were going to go over, so I'm really proud of us.
Well, that means we can. That means we can go deeper. That means we can go deeper on anything that you guys would want to ask additional questions and things on. So feel free to start popping those things in. There are no dumb questions. Trust me, because I've got teenagers, 3 of them. So I know all the dumb questions. Okay. So just pop them in and we'll circle back to those.
Or if you want to unmute and ask, that's totally fine too.
That's cool too.
Steve, nothing?
Well, I tell you what, this has certainly got my, timing is perfect for us as we're moving forward with you. As we complete the new website, we're going to be moving towards the ads area section. So, I learned a lot so far, and I just want to do it all.
Awesome.
So,
awesome.
And I guess I've identified a few areas that I want to extend this into the sales team, including the books and the third section in particular. So I'll look forward to the recording.
Yeah.
And no, I'm just anxious to get going.
Love it. Love it. Okay, we got some questions. Anna says, how many times should I mention my offer in my ads? Only in my call to action, within the copy, on the graphic, or all of the above? And then part 2 of that is, does this depend on the stage in the funnel? Good question.
Yeah. Well, my answer to that is yes. Just like
everywhere.
you shouldn't be afraid to make sure it's the simplicity of thought, right? It's like, what do we need to do to make it as simple for somebody to understand what's happening here as possible?
Right.
You can do that without being salesy.
Yeah,
right?
I think so too.
Yeah. Doesn't really matter on the stage. Doesn't really matter on the stage either.
We have a short, I think that as an advertiser marketer, a lot of times when when we say something clearly and we still get questions about it, it's a good reminder that sometimes when we think we're communicating clearly and we put a button 6 places on the website, well, maybe we should have put it 10. So, but also I do believe, and Josh, I'd love to know your thoughts on this. I do believe in keeping the copy, and in some platforms you're required to, but keeping the copy really crisp, simple, very specific to what you want them to do, the action you want them to take, and not, we love in business to add 6 bullet points to a graphic. And I would say no on that.
Yeah. Well, so it depends on the platform, obviously, with with some of these things. The more that you can make your ad look like it's not an ad, the better off that you'll be in most cases, because people just get that banner blindness. So like if you're working with a client, if you're on an install and you got one of your techs doing their work, like a photo of the tech doing the install, like with the branded logo on there or whatever, that is like the photo to use. Now, here's a little ad tidbit that you guys, if you're doing your own graphics, if you're using photos, always increase the contrast by 40%. I don't know why. I don't know what the deal is, but for some reason or another, 40% contrast is like, it will outperform just about anything else that we do if we don't add it.
Pops on the feed. Yep.
Right. The other thing that I would say is that as it relates to the funnel stage, I don't think it really matters in terms of that. Like you're going to make, as long as it's clear of what it is that people are getting. But what I would say in between that is that you always want to make sure you're monitoring the comments on your ad. You would be shocked at the number of people that ask for a quote or ask for some information or ask to contact you that we never see because somebody wasn't paying attention to the ad comments. Like, so if you're running them yourselves, that's something. So let's just say it's Facebook or Instagram. If you're running ads there, you can go to your business inbox and it will actually show you the comments on all your ads and things that you're running. Okay. Because you will lose a lot of leads that you could otherwise have. The other thing is that as you go through and you look at what's happening, and this goes back into Catherine's question about platforms. So I'm going to kind of merge these two together. Is that your platforms are dependent on what it is that people are doing at the time. This is the way that I look at it. You've got display ads, which are going to be like Facebook, Google display, like where you see like the little web banners all over the place, TikTok, YouTube, anything that you see that's more of a visual platform that's interrupting. Like, okay, we're doing something else and this is interrupting me. That is called display ads. And then you have search ads. These are the things you're going to Google or Bing or Yahoo or one of your other search engines, and the ads that are shown up there. Display ads are prospecting ads. Right. These are the things that people don't know what to do, or they're going to be in that problem aware stage to where they're saying, okay, well, here's the solutions for this. You're planting seeds. This is for the farmer. Right. The conversion ads are going to be your Google or your search ads, provided you're using transactional intent keywords. And what I mean by that is like if somebody searches for MSP near me, IT company near me, best IT company close by. Right. So most of the time these have a near me, nearby, close by type framework on the very end of those. Those are going to be the most transactional based searches. If somebody's looking for pricing or they're looking for something else that has buyer intent, we would consider those commercial keywords. They're probably not looking for nearby, because it's like if you're looking for nearby, then they're looking for somebody nearby. Commercial, and then everything above that we can look at as informational or navigational, which is just like who, what, where, when, why questions. Like if you use like, how much does this, or what's the purpose of this? Like that's informational. You probably don't want to be paying for search ads that way because they're going to be really expensive.
Well, that's what SEO is for. And that's how search engine optimization that we do for clients can complement ads. And in the same regard, I think, you just said this, so I want to point this out. When we're in the top and middle of the funnel, we talked about buyer awareness. If they don't know they need the problem, then the chances are they're not going to Google about their problem, right? They don't know it exists. So sometimes, Facebook, Instagram, a lot of people in this industry are dismissive of a platform like Facebook because you think, well, my buyer's not on Facebook. Going back to humans, you're selling to humans, and remember, we're making them aware. So you need to make them aware on platforms where they are. So you kind of have to invade their space a little bit before they start doing their research and then get to the closer to the bottom.
I'll give you some feedback. So again, this is one of the insights that spending so much money on ads will allow you to do that you normally wouldn't otherwise see. Facebook feeds Google. Or I say Facebook, Instagram, those things feeds Google. Google feeds Facebook. It is a cycle. It is circular in nature. All right. We run an account. They're spending about 100,000 a month. Okay. And what we saw was that Facebook or Meta was giving us about a 0.92% return on ad spend. Okay. They call that ROAS. So 0.92, not good, because you're not even breaking even right at that point. You're not even getting back to one. Google, on the other hand, was a 15x. Okay. Now, what you guys are thinking right now, if I give you just that piece of information and you're the business and you're like, whoa, it makes no sense at all, then I'm going to be spending this much money on Facebook. I'm just going to push it all into Google, right? Seems like a natural conversation or a natural thought process. 15x, done, right? Here's the issue. We turn the Facebook ads off. 5 months later, the Google ads start to tank. No reason why. There's nothing there that would be like, well, why is this? So we're looking for timelines. Is it the summertime? Is there something happening trend wise on Google Trends? Like, what's the story?
Yeah.
As it turns out, after we go back and start looking at it, which now we put it in place to where we've got this, we're looking at across the board. But at the time, we didn't look at it. According to a couple attribution softwares that we had, Facebook was also generating 76% of first-time visitors.
Mm,
Now, when you take away 76% of first-time visitors, that's what's going to happen in another platform. So what it also tells you is that when you're trying to determine what you're going to spend money on and the platforms you use and so forth, it needs to be tied in to some degree on what you want them to do. So if it's something you're, close the deal on Google or on a search engine, but if they don't know who you are, you've got to be running both, or you've got to be doing both.
yeah.
Because if you're not, you're going to be leaving a lot of money on the table. The
Yeah.
second piece of that is that the platforms lie. Okay. You can't always trust what the data that's coming back, because they model some of the data that sometimes it isn't as accurate. The only thing that you can do is make sure you have a CRM and you're comparing basically dollars in to dollars out.
Yeah.
Because I could go into, again, I could go into an hour and a half session on just tracking and attribution as far
Yeah.
as trying to make
Yeah.
decisions. So I won't do
Yeah.
that. But the fact is that as you guys go through that, Google and your meta platforms are going to be your biggest drivers because they have the most eyeballs. There's going to be some factors for LinkedIn. LinkedIn is going to be way more expensive. However, you
Yeah.
can target people based on so if you've got certain job titles that you're going after, you can target people based on that. But no, the people aren't on the platform every day for the
Right.
most part.
Right. But
Right.
we do have clients who get, that lead quality that, because of the way that you can target on LinkedIn, that lead quality does increase versus maybe a Facebook or even
Yep.
a Google. So we do see, like, and it's a decision that, you just have to make with your marketing team or whatever, but what makes the most sense for you and what you're willing to spend per, your cost per lead, what you're willing to spend to get that,
For sure.
quality lead. We have
One
time.
thing in your data points, that as you guys are looking for this, when you're trying to determine what are good leads and bad leads, like we hear a lot of times that definition kind of varies widely on that
Yeah.
part of it. What I would encourage you guys to do is look at something. A good lead is quotable, and I won't say a bad lead, but you've got quotable and non-quotable.
Right.
Right. Those are really the two things that you should be judging things by
Right.
whenever
Right.
you're trying to go through, could we give these people a quote, yes or no? And
Yeah.
at what stage did it? So again, that all comes down to looking at that full buyer's journey of that 4 months to 6 months
Yes.
and saying, did they ever become a quotable lead across that
Yeah.
time period?
Yeah. Love it. Okay. Last question. What gets more space and attention on the ad, photo or text? I think it depends on the photo, depends on what the graphic is, but what from a design standpoint, I think if you have an offer, the text is really important. I think if it's higher funnel, the visual, the video, the graphic is probably going to be something that makes the most sense. But if you have an offer at the bottom of the funnel, you want to make sure that it's crystal clear what they're getting for free. And I don't know if you disagree. It sounds like you probably agree with that too, Josh.
Yep. Just make sure that it pops. Like the whole point of an image or a graphic on Facebook, if you're using Facebook or Instagram, is to stop the scroll. If it don't stop your thumb, it did no good.
Yeah. So you get a little crazy. I like to get a little crazy. If you want to get a little crazy on ads, do something funny, do something different. I'm sure we got IT jokes for days. So
before we get off, so in case you guys do want to do any kind of research or anything as you're kind of working through the process, Facebook has, if you search Google for Facebook ad library, you can actually look at basically any ads that are running on Facebook. It's keyword searchable, or if you just want to see what your competitor is doing, you can put in their Facebook page and it'll show you if they're running any ads or not. What I like to do is just put in IT services, for example, and I just like to get ideas and see what is there.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So it's a good brainstorm that you can do. Doesn't mean that their ads are working. So don't look at it as in
That's
like,
right.
oh, we have to use that.
You
Doesn't
don't
mean
get
their
to
ads are
see
working.
their conversion quality and the numbers either. I
Correct.
love it. All right. Well, thank you all for joining today. We are wrapping up. There is a link if you're interested in a growth session with me. Would love to talk to you. We want to bring value every time. So if you ever have a recommendation, what you want to learn more about, please feel free to shoot me an email, laura@thebusinessgrowers.com. I would love to hear from you about what you'd like to hear next. And Josh, as always, thank you so much for your time.
Hey, you guys, you were great.
Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.